down to this. Alex Murdaugh sobbing in court as the 911 call from the day his wife and son were murdered is played out loud.
I need to go into the bathroom and my wife and child to got badly.
Yes, sir. Stay on the line with me, okay?
Okay, and are they breathing? No, ma'am.
Brian Claypool, criminal defense attorney, joins us now. Brian, what did you make of Alex Murdaugh's demeanor in court, specifically when that 911 call was played?
Hey, Todd, great to be with you. I think his demeanor was a bit disingenuous. And what I mean by that is one of the first witnesses that the prosecution put on was an investigator who arrives at the scene around 10 o'clock, and he doesn't see any tears at all in Alex Murdaugh's face. And then he hears Alex Murdaugh blurt out, hey, I think somebody was stalking my son. I think somebody might have been after my son for another reason. So the jury hears that, and then they look at him in the courtroom and he's sobbing. And I really don't think it went over well. I think the jury thinks he's embellishing.
What do you make of that revenge theory with regard to the 2019 fatal boat crash that you just mentioned? They're trying to come after my son for the crash defense.
Yeah, I think this is a devastating fact, Todd, for Alex Murdaugh's defense. You've got, I think, 8 females on that jury. You've got adults on that jury, and they're going to be analyzing this, Todd, from what their visceral reaction is going to be when they see a wife and a son murdered. And in fact, there was testimony about some of the brain matter of Paul, the son, blown out of his head next to his feet. All that said, how are you going to react? How am I going to react? I'd probably collapse. And the first thing he's talking about is it looks like he's manufacturing a motive for somebody else to have killed his son. It just doesn't make sense.
It's an odd first thing for a father to say upon seeing such a horrific scene. And if you look at the defense strategy, that is obviously one part of it. The other is really trying to paint the police as sloppy. Take a listen.
Did you in any way have your men or women put protective gear on their feet? I saw you put gloves on, but did they put anything to insulate themselves from contaminating the scene?
On their feet, no.
Look, Brian, this is their strategy. It is the strategy. I mean, it's obviously one of the only things that the defense has right now that they can attack this case on. But is it working for you?
A good defense lawyer is going to make that argument, Todd, and I think it is effective to a certain extent. And think about the Idaho murder case, right? I mean, that's the argument that lawyers in that case are going to make too. Contamination at the crime scene. You had people over at the house. Same thing here. In fact, he was asking, oh, did you measure the tire tracks? And the investigator was like, no, that's not our job. So look, that does ring well with the jury. But at the end of the day, I think really what this is going to boil down to, Todd, is was there any blood spatter on Murdaugh's shirt, and any gunshot residue, for example, on his hands or on his clothing. And I think that the prosecution really is going to need some of that forensic evidence to convict Murdaugh, because that's going to be a second defense for Murdaugh too. His lawyers are going to argue, hey, where's the forensics? Where is the blood spatter? Should have been blood all over the place. But I did hear one thing, Todd, in opening statement, that I think the prosecutors found a raincoat at Murdaugh's mother's house, and they're testing that raincoat. So it's a very interesting case because there could be blood on that raincoat and gunshot residue on the raincoat. If there is, I mean, I think he might be toast.
Yeah, forensics, obviously the biggest challenge for the prosecution making their case. We will see what they have as this case transpires. Brian Claypool, thank you very much. Appreciate your insight, sir. All right, Adam Schiff.